Hey, hey, hey. It's a filter-free Friday, y'all. Listen, I am so glad y'all here. On Mother's Day, I delivered a sermon at Living Water Church, and the title was Running on Empathy, and it was based off of the parable from Luke 15 about the prodigal son. And for whatever reason, what was brought to my spirit was a focus on the father. And it was an incongruence because it was Mother's Day. I think it'd be a perfect sermon for Father's Day, but I had been asked to come and preach for Mother's Day, and Pastor Fred had asked me what was my favorite parable, and this one is. And so I kind of apologized to the audience, not kind of, I did, because I knew I was going to be talking about fathers on Mother's Day. And what I think is beautiful about that story, and I said it that day, is that the prodigal son story is generally folks talking about the son. If you're not familiar, father had two sons. He seems to be wealthy. One of his sons asked for his inheritance early and is described to have gone off and engaged in frivolous spending and or living with his friends, and ended up losing all of his inheritance, and ended up like in a pen eating with pigs, or at least considering it. And that's when he comes to himself and he says, my father's servants are treated better than this, and so um I'm going to go home. I'm going to apologize profusely to my father, and then I'm going to go home. And when he is, the scripture says, afar off, his father sees him. He doesn't even really get a chance to apologize, and his dad runs to him. That's how I came up with the title, Running on Empty. His dad runs to him and invites him back home. He still apologizes, and the second brother hears all the commotion because father says he's going to have a return party, and the brother gets a little upset. He's like, I know after I done been here, I ain't had no party, helping out around this place, whatever he was doing. I know we ain't having a party for this joker that done ran off, took all his money, spent it all up, and ain't been here. I know we ain't having no party. And so the father goes to him too. He does not run, but he goes to him and he listens to him and tells him that basically there's no need to have a scarcity mindset. There's enough for everybody to go around. That was the sermon that I gave. And I think it's important right now because that's kind of how I feel. I feel like I'm having a returning. The message that I gave on Mother's Day was specifically about how do we treat people when they are returning. And I had just gone through a reentry simulation to learn what it's like for people who are in prison the first 30 days when they're out. And I thought I knew a lot about this topic, but I went anyway because I wanted to learn more. And it was 4 rounds of experiential activity. And in the second round, I was upset. I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to jail because jail seemed easier. And so my question to the audience was, how do we treat people when they are returning? But today, I think it's important to talk about my own returning. I had a wreck last Friday. I think many of you know that. And I'm feeling much better today. But I'm still not myself. Several things are not working like they should. I still have an incredible headache. But what the wreck helped me to remember is that at any moment, this all could be over. And I have, I think, a greater propensity to think about that because both of my parents were killed in accidents. My mom was killed by a drunk driver running a red light. My dad was also killed in a car accident. Of several family members who had got up in the morning thinking they were going to come home and never did. I have a nephew who's been murdered. Just lots of reasons to regularly be thinking about what if today were my last day. But that accident, see, just even further solidified it for me. And it helped me to clarify some things about the empathy journey. You see, when I first started like relentlessly focusing on empathy, I'd always been like, if you read any of my books, the word empathy has been mentioned over 1,000 times. And that's not counting the book Spark the Heart. So I'd always mention the word empathy. I've always known it's important to get perspective from another person to be able to make a decision. I've always known that. But what I didn't have was the language of feelings. I am a feeling person. I thought I wasn't. I am a feeling person. And I didn't have that language. And so emotional empathy wasn't really easy for me to access. And so once I landed in this space of writing Spark the Heart, and in the middle of that project, learning that my biological father was a different man than the man who raised me, the one who passed away, I just remember my heart being broken wide open and being so angry that finally I was able to feel the range of human emotions, and something cracked open, and I recognized that I didn't always pay attention to what people felt, and that in not always paying attention to what people felt, that I sometimes hurt people. And so what happened was the revolutionary Nicole stepped back quite a bit, and the empathetic Nicole stepped forward quite a bit. Not bad, but the emotional part of that is what was leading, and I overcorrected a bit. And then what that overcorrecting looks like is mistaking emotional fluency for effectiveness. Yeah, now I'm a feeling person and a compassionate person, but that does not mean compassion, not confrontation. I try to show up with grace, but I can't lose that grit. It's both and, not either or. I have empathy, and you also still need to execute, right? And what the combination of that wreck, and then also seeing white supremacists walk through the streets of Kansas City, that combination of both of those together, and then hearing or seeing our lovely mayor defend the rights of hate groups to have free speech, I was like, oh, let me return home. Let me apologize to the people. And I know that in my father's house, the service can treat better than this, because we're not about to have this. We have spent generations understanding what hatred looks like. We have read the history. I got books on books on books about there's a book called 100 Years of Lynching that I have never been able to get through, because the very first story, I just could not. The book, They Were Her Property, about white female enslavers, I couldn't get through that book. This one right here is sitting right here on my desk because I can't get past the title, The Delectable Negro, Human Consumption and Homoeroticism Within U.S. Slave Culture. They used to eat us. Child, we don't need more empathy for white supremacy. We understand it well. You see, empathy means understanding what another person thinks, feels, and believes. So when I'm telling folk to be more empathetic, I'm asking them to understand. We already understand. In this particular situation, we already understand. We need more clarity. We need our lenses wiped, because empathy by itself won't dismantle any kind of power structure. See? Empathy needs a strategy. And when you look at what has happened and how we've gotten back here with folks marching in the street with Confederate flags and swastikas and screaming hate speech, we've seen this before. We've seen it in white robes. We've seen it in policy. We've seen it in silence. And I'm coming back to y'all today on this Filter Free Friday to be like the prodigal son, to say I have stepped away. Love didn't just welcome the son home. What love did was move. It ran towards, and this ain't the time for passive empathy. You see, empathy by itself, that understanding means, okay, now what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Because when I think about the fact that the three groups of folk that understand empathy, cognitive empathy, mental empathy, tactical empathy the most, we talking pimps, preachers, PR firms, therapists, sociopaths, hostage negotiators. Listen, y'all. But what is the thing that unites these people? They all understand it. See, they all have the first part. understanding what another person thinks, feels, and believes. It's the second part that differentiates. You see, what's the difference between a therapist who has high levels of empathy and the sociopath who has high levels of empathy? You see, the therapist's intent is to help you make progress on your goal, at least it should be. The hostage negotiator's intent is to help you get release the hostages. The pimp's intent is to get you to go sell your body on the street and give you that money back. Intent is the difference between whether or not you're using empathy for good or whether you're using it for evil. But you got to use it. You see, it's a tool. It's like a hammer. If you don't use it, it ain't doing nothing. See? And so it's one thing to understand what somebody else thinks. But what's it look like to show up, to speak out, to build something, use that hammer to build something better? You see, we don't like the word manipulation because manipulation suggests that I'm trying to convince you to do something to influence your behavior. It's a negative connotation to manipulation. But when I get on here and I talk to you every Friday, I am trying to influence your behavior. What makes it not manipulation is I don't have negative intent. That's what it is. So empathy revolutionary. Listen, this near-death experience reminded me that it is not about politeness. It's not about playing small. It's about returning to who we are. My name, Nicole, means victory for the people. You can be tender, as I have become, and unapologetically disruptive. So if you, like me, have been quiet too long or are leaning a little heavily into emotional intelligence because now you remember that, sometimes when I spoke, I hurt people's feelings. You remember that? You don't want to hurt people's feelings. Come home to your voice, honey. If you, like me, have traded clarity for comfort, because let me be clear. Sometimes when I did not say something, it was the discomfort in knowing that in the past, I had probably hurt some feelings and I didn't want to hurt no feelings no more. Empathy has opened my heart wide open. But the way God made me, it might not be how God made you, but the way God made me is to lift up the rocks and look at the dirty worms. And folk marching through the street. My friend Susan Bro, her daughter Heather Hare got killed by a white supremacist group marching in the street in Charleston, Virginia. And that was in 2019. Right? When we said very fine people on both sides, did we not understand that? Yeah, we understand that. We understand that. Do we need more empathy? No. We need to be super clear that when we say things like, oh, people have a First Amendment right. A First Amendment right to what? There should be, you got a right to say whatever you want to say. But when you say things that are about the destruction of entire groups of people, there should be consequences to that. They should be swift. When I think about the language that we use, when we talk about sideshows and when we talk about cracking down on crime, and the language that people use before they get elected versus after they get elected. Before they get elected, it's like, here's the strategy we're going to use to create a safer Kansas City. After they get elected, got the badge, got the title, whatever, then it is, we cracking down on crime and this dangerous activity, and we have arrested and da-da. Do you need empathy to understand what that is? That is taking on the tools of oppression. And we reject it with everything we have. And so if you happen to have missed it, I wrote an article in the Next Page Kansas City. I made a professional version of it for LinkedIn. I posted it on Twitter, TikTok, here on Facebook multiple times. I went live on Monday. I am sorry, and I have come home, and I appreciate all the ways that you all have run back to me and said, sis, we see you, we hear you, we support you as you show up unapologetically as who you are. I love you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you who never left, never left, and you've been doing this deal, listen, I hope that what you feel is the beautiful example that the Father gave us in the Prodigal Son. I swear this would be an excellent sermon for Father's Day if y'all still looking for a speaker. But if you feel like too many people abandon the work of anti-white supremacy, the work of anti-racism, if you feel like you have been there the whole time and other people were just like leaving the work, that's what I want to say to you. We see you too. There's enough. Let us celebrate our brothers who have returned. And let's mobilize, because the strategy is still the same. Stop saying that these people are unqualified for the positions they have. They are qualified, because the qualification is not having a moral compass. It is being cruel. It is aligning to ideas that there's not space for everybody, that we have to be hateful towards some people. That's the qualification. That's what is desired. Stop saying when you are clear, when you're using your empathy muscle, when you see what is happening, don't let anybody confuse you, baby. You've been here. The strategy is distract, divide, destroy. Distract, divide, destroy. So what is it that we're going to do to focus, unite, and build together? Because we know that that's exactly what we have done in the past, and we can do it in the future. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.